It was closing time. I'd just locked the front door. I was about to turn off the lights for the night when the bell above the door chimed. I turned around. A man stood there, tall, soaking wet from the rain, holding an umbrella and wearing a long coat that looked at least 50 years out of style. But it wasn't the clothes that were strange. It was his face. He looked familiar, like someone I should know, but I didn't. "Can I help you?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, just here for a memory." Weird, right? He walked in further, shook himself dry, and headed to the far corner booth. It was an old leather booth nobody ever used. It was actually my favorite spot to sit in when I was a kid. And this guy, this stranger, he just sat down there like he owned the place. And then, without even looking at me, he said, "You keep the key under the counter. Right side, tap underneath." I froze. It was true, I did. That was an old habit. A backup spare key taped underneath the counter. Nobody knew about it. I laughed it off. "Lucky guess," I said, but he didn't smile. He just stared out the window at the rain. "You used to read Stephen King at that table," he said quietly, "every Friday after school." I hadn't told anyone that in years. That was my teenage routine 15 years ago. How did he know that? He couldn't have been much older than me back then. He looked my age. "Do we know each other?" I asked. He paused. "Sort of." The rain kept falling. The cafe clock ticked louder than usual. He looked around like he was seeing the place for the last time. Then he asked me a question that changed everything. "Do you believe in time travel?" I laughed. "No. Do you?" He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled something out of his pocket. It was a photo, faded, torn at the edges, of two people, a teenage boy and a man, standing in front of this very cafe. The boy reading the camera, and the man smiling and holding it was me. Only older. "I took this," he said, "the day I left." I stared at it. I remembered that day. I was alone. I was sure of it. "You weren't," he said, like he could hear my thoughts. "I was with you. Just not yet." He leaned forward, his eyes intense. "I'm you. From 27 years in the future." I wanted to laugh, to tell him he was insane, but the more he spoke, the more it made sense. He knew everything. What I named my childhood dog. The scar behind my ear from falling off a bike at 6. The poem I wrote but never shared, not even online. "How?" I whispered. He shrugged. "Let's just say I've always been interested in the past. And I remember a lot." "Why come back?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Why now?" He looked tired, sad. "Because I made a mistake. One you're about to make." "What do you mean?" He stared at me. "You're going to meet someone in 3 days. A woman named Lila. She'll walk in here asking for hot chocolate with cinnamon. You'll fall in love fast, marry her even faster." I blinked. "So?" He stared at me. "You lose everything because of her. Your cafe, your home, your future, it all burns down. Literally." My chest tightened. "I came back to warn you," he said. "You have one choice to make. Don't talk to her, don't let her into your life." "Why don't you stop me directly?" I asked. He gave a bitter smile. "I can't change my own past. But I can tell you. Maybe give you a chance. I never had." He stood up. "Or maybe I'm just crazy." And with that, he walked out into the storm. I never saw him again, but 3 days later, it happened. A woman walked into the cafe, soaked from the rain, smiling. "Hi, do you have hot chocolate? With cinnamon?" My hands shook. Her name was Lila. She was exactly like he said she would be. And here's the truth. I spoke to her anyway. We were married 8 months later. It was perfect. For a while, until it wasn't. The cafe gone. My savings wiped. Turns out he wasn't crazy. He was me, and I didn't listen. Maybe if I had, things would have been different. Maybe if I'd followed his advice, I wouldn't be sitting here telling you this story today. But then again, maybe I would. Because some things, once they happen, they change you. They change who you are, what you become. Lila and I lost everything in the fire, but we also gained each other. And in the end, that's all that matters. Or maybe it's what I tell myself to make it easier. Easier to live with the guilt, to live with what happened. The doctor said I was lucky to get out alive. The fire department said it was a miracle, but I know the truth. It was him. It was my future self who saved me, who saved us. But how? How does one man save two lives? His and mine, 27 years apart. And why come back to the past at all? Why leave in the first place? Those are the questions that keep me up at night. Questions I may never have the answers to. Or maybe I do, but I've forgotten them. Maybe that's what happens when you travel through time. Some things get lost. Memories, loved ones, pieces of yourself. All I know is that I'm grateful for him, grateful for the sacrifice he made, and I honor him by living my life to the fullest, by making sure our story doesn't end here. When I think of him, I smile. I think of the good times, the laughter, the adventures. I don't dwell on the tragedy, the loss, the pain, because that's not who he was. He was a fighter, a survivor, someone who never gave up, and I try to be more like him every day. I miss you, old man. Wish you were here. But I know you're with me always. In my heart, in my memories, in my soul, you're a part of me, always will be. And for that, I'm forever grateful. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing. Until next time.